Seeing that it is 7 o'clock and there are no open forum for tonight's meeting, I will call the meeting to order, though the gavel has disappeared after how many years? After 30 years, the gavel has disappeared. So we're efforting to get a new one. So I hereby call this meeting of the Prior Lake Savage Area School Board to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All members are present tonight with the exception of Mary France and Todd Sorensen. And on the agenda, Mr. Mons has informed me there is no need for a closed session tonight. So we will remove that item 15 from the agenda. With that, do I have a motion for the approval of the agenda?
So moved.
By Lee, do I have a second?
Second.
By Stacy. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? That passes 5-0. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. These are considered to be routine in nature and will be enacted by one motion. On tonight's consent agenda is the check wire transfer disbursement summary, the wire transfer EFT and ACH banking activity, the building bond investments report, the bank reconciliation statement, approval of the school board minutes from June 11th and the study session from June 25th, resignations, terminations, non-renewals, a resolution, and the membership agreements for the Metro ECSU, AMSD, Minnesota State High School League, Schools for Equity in Education, and MSB membership. With that, did I get a motion? Not yet. I need a motion for the approval of the consent agenda. By Ben, do I have a second?
Second.
By Lee. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That passes 5-0. Next on the agenda is the Laker Pride. Dr. Stallo.
Good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure to have several celebrations this evening for Laker Pride. The first is going to be some very special athletes. 85% of our students at Prior Lake High School are involved in athletics and activities, which I think is something that each one of us should be really proud of. We have amazing academics and high rigor that our students do a great job with every day, and 85% of them choose to participate in something outside or in addition to the school day where we really believe our learning continues through those activities and athletics. Tonight we have an opportunity to recognize state champions. I don't know very many 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds who dream or don't dream of being a state champion. Little kids who are dribbling on the playground or playing soccer or dancing or doing whatever it is their passion area is, they dream of being a state champion. And it doesn't happen very often. At Prior Lake Savage Area Schools this spring, we have several state champions to recognize and to celebrate. I'd like to start with the boys lacrosse team under the direction of Coach Chris Fleck. If the athletes will begin to make their way up to the front, coaching staff as well that are here. So as they're making their way up here, I would just like to remind the board and our listening public that this is the second state championship that the boys lacrosse team has had in the last 3 years. How many of you were on the first state championship team? And now you've got a second amazing medal around your neck right now. Before I hand this over to Coach Fleck, I just want to remind you guys especially, but I want to remind everybody here the hard work and the dedication that it takes to be a student at Prior Lake High School and the enormous effort and energy that you have spent for I don't know how many years earning this title and the one that several of you played on 2 years ago as well. I know most of you are up early in the morning, and there's weight regiments and there's running regiments, and it doesn't matter if you're in season because you're always in season. And even if you're in another season, you're still always in season. I think the expectation on our student athletes is something that has changed dramatically in the years that I've been in education, and I couldn't be more proud of your effort, both in the classroom and on the field. So thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for representing us so well, and thank you for your amazing effort and being such great role models to younger students. And with that, congratulations, Coach. I'd like to also have you share some words around the guys.
Thanks. Good to see you again.
You too.
So yeah, this is just a great team. This was a group of guys that came together and played a team ball, and didn't really worry about themselves as individuals. And again, just a great team, and really proud of the guys. And just for the school board, ever since we got these new facilities at the school, with the turf fields, and I know it's not really your guys' doing, but the dome as well. That's been just awesome for our program. Guys being able to get out on a field when it's rainy, or when it's cold out, being in the dome or whatever it may be. Anything you guys can continue to do for our facilities and whatnot, it makes a huge difference, and it helps attract good coaches and good families that want to stay in Prior Lake. And with me being a 2003 alumni, I've seen a lot of advances in our community, and just really proud to be a Laker. So really proud of these guys, and it's a great time to be a Laker right now. So thank you.
I've got a mic here, and I don't think it's very often that you probably get a chance to address the school board or the listening public. So would love if anyone has any reflections or thoughts that you'd like to share right now.
I mean, at the beginning of the year, all of us guys were like, yeah, we're gonna win state and everything. And I remember I was the one that was like telling everyone that like if we all pitch in, all work together, that we're gonna win state. No one kind of really believed me, and they just said, yeah, whatever, John, I'm all talk. Yeah, and first we started off 6-0, and we never really played really good teams, I guess you could say. And then kind of midway through the season, we all started playing like individual ball. Like no one really, okay, that was aggressive. People cared about the team, but a lot of people cared about themselves. And then as soon as sections rolled by and we lost our last regular season game to Rosemount, everyone kind of just clicked together, and we didn't care about individual stats or anything. We just wanted to win at the end of the day and got the job done.
Give us your name first.
I'm John Leffler.
I'm Tyler Wiederoft. At the start of the season, it was really fun. I'm really glad that we all came together as a defense and really.
Max Volek, and I think one of the coolest things I saw was some of the younger guys who were really quiet, like the preseason stuff and the captain's practices really sprout into leaders in their own and just be really unselfish, really good teammates, great people. And one other thing I'd like to add is that I thought it was really beneficial that our team tried to use Laker performance as a team thing. I think that helped a lot.
I'm Brock Penn, and one thing I did notice was right before our sections, we met up with Sindra, who helps us with our mentality. And honestly, I would recommend that to every sporting event or organization because it helped our team, not only when we were down, but we always had that good mentality that we had the game, and we could never lose.
I'm Reese Montross, and like Coach Flex said, the facilities was a huge deal to our program, especially with the late snow this year. It really allowed our team to practice when a lot of other teams weren't able to. So out of the gates, we were hot right away, and that makes a huge difference when you have a short season like we do.
Congratulations again, guys. Great job. And that trophy will stay at the high school forever. So thank you very much. Great job, guys. Thank you. We're going to talk about some more state champs this evening. I'm going to move along to boys track and field. And before we talk about our state champion, I also want to talk about our head coach. Ken Clam has been coaching here for over 20 years. He's been the head coach for track for 6 years. This year, he was the Section 3 AA Coach of the Year. He also received those same honors last year. His team has won conference for the last 3 years in a row. They've won sections the last 4 years in a row. This year the team was 5th in the state. So although Ken has coached here for 20 years, this is his 6th year as the head track coach. Obviously huge successes and a winning spirit, which is really important. So Ken, thanks for everything that you've done. This evening, if you would like to please come up, Parker. And Pete, if you would come with him. Tonight we're recognizing the state champ in the long jump. That's Parker Ellis, who is the state champ in the long jump. And his coach, one of his coaches, Pete Hartman, is also here, along with Ken Clam. And I think, Coach Hartman, you're going to share a few words about Parker, and then we'll see if he wants to say anything.
So Parker moved to Prior Lake this past year, and we were aware of some of Parker's track and field accomplishments. So needless to say, we were pretty excited to have him. Excuse me. Parker exceeded all expectations. He's selfless. He's always encouraging teammates and opponents. Parker set school records in long and triple jump, and obviously then went on to take the state title in the long jump. My favorite memory of Parker was not actually his state champion long jump. Came at the state true team meet where he had a monster jump, and it was one of those jumps you just saw it and the crowd saw it, and you could tell it was a great jump. And when the official read the marks, the expression of joy and elation on Parker's face, it was so authentic. It was something I will never forget. And I hope we have many more of those ahead, Parker.
Yeah, I think overall, just coming to this school just from the beginning, they came arms wide open. The other athletes and the coaches as well, it was amazing. I think also my favorite memory was when I broke the school record at Stout, or Stillwater. And then right after, he just, before the meet, I was just putting numbers out there. I was like, what if I jumped to 22? Because I was only jumping 20, 21 the whole season. I just put it out there like as a complete joke, and I was just like, what if I jumped to 22? And the first 2 jumps went really good, and then he just told me to add speed, and I'll never forget it. Right after, the only thing I could think about was, oh my gosh, like I jumped to 22. Another one of my favorite memories where, again, we were just jokingly a couple practices before the state meet talking about how that I was going to win state, and I had no idea like how far I'd become, because at the beginning of the season I was on long jump because I didn't know I wasn't doing that well at the beginning because I'm mostly a high jumper. But I guess now I'm a little bit of everything. But yeah, for sure. But coming out after the state meet, I'm still shocked today. Like I can't believe that jumping only like 19, 20.
Just to echo Coach Hartman's thoughts on Parker. Parker is an extremely extremely smart, gifted, personable young man. He came into the situation, being ready to be coached. He always did anything that we asked him to try. And if I could have 10 Parker Ellises, not just as athletes, but as people more on the team, that'd be awesome. He's a great young man.
Thank you very, very much. Congratulations. I also want to thank Russ Reitz for being such an amazing activities director and Twitter guy, because even though I wasn't in the stadium, I was able to see what Parker was doing by the tweets, and it just kept coming during that state tournament. So great job. Congratulations. And we're not done yet. We also want to recognize this evening some of our boys swimming champs. So we're a little past that season, but we want to be sure to recognize them as well. Coaches Joe Bollinger and Carla Rupp couldn't be here this evening, but if Sean and PJ Lenz, Sean Dwyer and PJ Lenz would make their way, I believe that your coaches have prepared some statements for Mr. Reitz to share with us. Sean is the state champ in the 500 freestyle, and PJ, state champ in diving. So congratulations to you both. We'll let Russ share some of your accomplishments.
Which one looks like the swimmer and which one looks like the diver? So Sean, raise your hand. This is Sean Dwyer. Sean's a junior at the high school. He won the 500 freestyle. So how would you describe that stroke? That's probably the freestyle is like the front crawl, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That race is grueling. Gotta push through the entire time.
You're on. The 500 free is how many laps in the pool?
It's 10 laps or 20 lengths.
And I had to do that once for lifeguard certification, and I almost died. And he's the fastest in the state at that
I do it
event.
every meet. So.
Yes. So this is from Coach Bollinger. Sean had an incredible season, showcasing both his versatility and dominance in the pool. Sean is the current school record holder in the 100 freestyle, the 200 freestyle, and the 500 freestyle. He was the state champ in the 500 free and was an automatic All-American. He swam the 7th fastest time ever at the state meet in the 500 free. He also swam the 200 free, and his time is the 5th fastest ever swam at the state meet, but he was the runner-up to an all-time record holder. Who was he from? Chan?
Madison.
Yeah, he was pretty good. Sean was also on 2 all-state relays, including the 400 free relay, which also set a school record. So how many school records do you have total now?
I only got 3.
Only 3.
Only 3.
And how many did your brother graduate with? I think he might be at 2 or 3.
3 or 4 maybe?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's all the Dwyers do is set school records. So Sean's a junior. He's going to come back and help lead the team next season. And this was Prior Lake's highest finish ever at the state meet for boys swim and dive. So anything else, a memorable moment or anything else you'd want to share about your season?
I guess this actually wasn't from this season, but this is from years past. We always take a trip up to Grand Rapids, Minnesota. Just a fun meet up there, some bonding time. We stay in a hotel, and some of the times we stay in this hotel where they got these really nice showers. They got like 2 heads coming at you at the same time, and so like I've heard rumors of like teammates staying there for like 3 hours just showering because it just feels so nice. So those are always just funny memories.
Awesome. Like the shower in the hotel. We'll remember that.
Water
gun. Next, we will honor PJ Lenz. PJ, grab the mic here, and we'll do a quick Q&A as well. So PJ hit the diving community by storm after ending a gymnastics career. He was forced out by injury. Maybe you can touch on that. He's the first ever Laker to win a state diving championship, and this was only his 2nd year in competitive diving. He went his first year to state in competitive diving and then won it his 2nd year. He holds pool records at Prior Lake and Shakopee and is second on our Laker top 20 in 6 of the 11 dives. He did this while maintaining a 4.034 weighted GPA at Prior Lake High School. Pretty amazing stuff, both in the classroom and in the pool. He earned All-American consideration 6 times this season. Just last month, he was selected as an All-American, and last week he competed for USA Diving Zone D Championships. You can touch more on that, PJ, as a junior national qualifier. And are you about to go off a 3-meter board? Are you competing in the 3-meter board now?
Yeah, and I'm an ultra now.
Okay. High school diving is the 1-meter board. The 3-meter board is one that's really high that I've decided to never go off of, but he's graduating to that. So your coach says, Miss Rapp says you're an unselfish team player and you made a great captain, well liked by all of your peers. You focused your attitude and positive approach and your rapid success, and it all resulted in being heavily recruited by Notre Dame, Arizona, Denver, Utah, and then ultimately you selected West Virginia to compete at the Division I level next year. So tell us a little bit about your season.
So I mean, I've only been on the team for 2 years, but the team just welcomed me with open arms. It's really been a great community to be a part of for the past 2 years. I can't thank them all enough. It's been a lot of personal growth for me, and obviously athletic growth too. After having to quit gymnastics, diving was a pretty natural transition. And I mean, it was a lot of hard work, days where you don't ever see the sun during the winter because you go straight from the high school to the middle school and you walk out and it's dark out already. But yeah, it's just been great. One of my favorite memories is when, at the time I didn't enjoy this, but the day of the preliminary day of diving for state this year, our bus was running late because there was a ton of unexpected traffic. And me and Eric Thompson, the other diver that made it to state, we were kind of freaking out on the bus. We were like, we're not gonna make our warm-up time. We're not gonna be able to compete well. And then Bollinger came back to us and he talked us down a little bit. He's like, get in there fast, run in there, get changed real quick, get on the boards. We ended up missing about half of our warm-up time, but he's like, you know what, you guys practiced for this every single day for the past 3 months. You guys can do it. It's just a warm-up. You guys know your dives. You know what you're doing. So yeah, that's probably, then went out and finished first after preliminaries and came back the next 2 days later and state title. But yeah, that's probably my favorite memory.
Awesome. PJ made diving cool. It made diving cool. It made it be cool for other kids. So that was a great accomplishment. Good job, guys.
Congratulations again, guys. Really, really proud of you. As the students were talking, and especially referencing some of that information about the coaches, I think it speaks again to the importance of relationships that all of our staff have in the classroom and outside of the classroom. And tonight I want to highlight and invite 2 other staff members to the podium with some very special students. Our Child Nutrition Services Department has taken a leading role in ensuring that we maintain our status as an E-STEM district, and they're kind of doing it in an unconventional way. We often think of the curriculum of E-STEM, environmental education, science, technology, engineering, and math, but I don't think that all districts think about the food that we eat and the nutrition and the way that that also fits into our E-STEM theme and our focus. The 2 staff members, and they're not making their way up here, so please come up here. Our Child Nutrition Services Director, Emily Malone, and Assistant Director, Jamie Anderson, have definitely taken our gardens to a new level. And this evening, we also have 2 students with them who have helped us to really combine the work of our kids company, combine the work of all of our school gardens, and make sure that we're providing service to our community through that. So I'm going to let them share some more. I just want to thank you all, especially Jamie and Emily. Again, when I think about the amazing staff we have across the district, this is really going above and beyond the call of duty, and you're continuing to make us an amazing district. So thank you, and I'll let you take it from here.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Dr. Stallo. Emily and Paige and Olivia have some treats for you all tonight. We have a kale salad with snap peas and basil and parsley and a lemon vinaigrette, and everything is from our gardens. So we have some things from the high school garden and Greenwood. So feel free to just enjoy and everything. Yeah.
Dinner, thank you.
It's a nice bonus about working in child nutrition. There's always things to taste.
Thank you.
Really briefly, we just wanted to share some of the great things that are happening in the student gardens this year. Emily has kind of tasked me with that area, so it's a passion of mine. So I'm really excited to be able to, work in one of my passion areas. So real quickly, to highlight some of the work that we've been doing this spring. Each of our elementary schools has a current garden operating or is in the process of establishing one. So I have some pictures. The first one, Glendale, is at bottom right. They have 3 different raised beds, and in their garden they have a picture, and that picture is potatoes and bulb onions that will be harvested in the fall. So we're really hoping that there's no rotting, and they're going to be beautiful and wonderful when the kiddos come back to school. Jeffers Pond is the one up above. They are in the process of establishing a brand new garden site. It's going to be beautiful. They're really dreaming big with this. It's the lower area right off the main parking lot. They received some really great grants to purchase some really cool equipment, some sheds. They're going to do some elevated beds. They have a really passionate staff that is really gung-ho about making this a really beautiful space, not only for the students in the school, but also for the community. And then the last picture on the slide is Westwood. And I went out to Westwood this spring and worked with their junior naturalists, and we had a planting day in May. And so they have 6 raised beds, and we did the method that we're trying to utilize is a square foot gardening method. So basically you create a grid in your raised bed, and in each square you plant a different type of vegetable. So if it's a tomato, you get 1 tomato plant per square. If it's radishes, they're little, so you can fit 20. And so it's a great connection with our curriculum. And the students have just been really just embracing the whole entire process. So this is an after picture. We all had dirty hands. We had to show our hands. It was a really great experience. Then we also have done some work at Greenwood, also with their junior naturalist program. They have 4 elevated beds, so completely off the ground. We did a spring planting in April, and then at our last junior naturalist meeting in end of May, we did a harvest and we made a salad. So we had kohlrabi, we did cilantro, dill, we had arugula, romaine lettuce, radishes. And the kids are just, are eating it like crazy. So again, a great experience. They got to plant, they got to harvest, and they got to prepare something and eat the fruits of their labor. Five Hawks and Redtail, so again, showing that plants are resilient. We are obviously, was thinking there was going to be some construction. There is some construction. So Five Hawks actually had their beds planted, but due to the construction where their beds are located, they scraped the beds up and transplanted them. And so this picture is actually of all of their pumpkins, and they're growing beautifully. So they were not ready to be done, which was awesome. So they'll have some beautiful pumpkins right on the outside of their playground area that the kids will be able to observe and do fun activities with in the fall. Redtail, this is their garden space. They have a really nice fenced-in garden area, raised beds. You can see those white poles. Those are hoop houses. So those are used. They're covered with plastic in the fall, so we can plant earlier in the spring, and then we'll cover again late in the fall to extend our growing season. So really trying to maximize the garden during the school year when we have the most captive audience. So Redtail, they didn't plant anything this year. They're in the process this coming, I think, fall to relocate their garden to a different site, and they're actually gonna make it bigger. So really cool things happening at Redtail. And then the high school, this is our kind of the big one. So we have 12 raised beds at the high school. And those first pictures kind of up on the right is a spring planting. So Sam Steinberg, who is the AP Environmental Sciences teacher, he had his students come out after AP testing and worked in the garden. That's what they did for their class time. So they planted, they weeded, they manipulated the soil, all pretty much the whole entire gamut of the whole spring early season gardening process. The picture of the gentleman holding the big red thing next to his face is a radish. It's a sorrel radish, and it was huge. So I had him hold it to his face so you could really see the comparison. But basically, we had a ton of fabulous spring vegetables that were harvested and then brought directly into the high school kitchen where they served them right on the line that day. So they had some great signage highlighting that this was produce from our gardens, and we just kept coming with more and more and more, and the kitchen staff was like, okay, that's good for now. So that was a really fun thing to be able to give to them. So our summer program is going wonderfully as well. We have a great opportunity this year because Kids Co is located at the high school. So we created a Kids Co Garden Club. We receive grant funding through the Statewide Health Improvement Partnership, which is through Scott County, so it stands for SHIP. And basically it's a partnership and a grant that we receive money to implement this garden club. They're doing gardening, they're doing some cooking, they're doing some physical activity. So I'm really fortunate to kind of get a little kickstart with that organization. And Olivia is one of our fabulous Kids Co Garden Club members. And Olivia, do you want to say anything about how things have been going in the garden and what you've enjoyed?
Olivia, do you want to come up here and say it? Would you mind? Amazing salad.
I've planted some bush beans.
Good. Work out. How often do you work out there?
Thank you, Olivia.
Thank you. I have a
And
question.
then Paige is going to talk a little bit about the high school's role in the summer garden program. So as a way to make our program more sustainable, so we don't have to kind of keep dipping into other funding. We want to really be a sustainable, financially sound program. So we decided to think of out of the box and try to think of some different opportunities for fundraising. And we came up with doing a CSA, which stands for Community Supported Agriculture. And basically what it is we offered kind of a pilot program to the high school staff, and they can spend, they put in a blank sum of money, or a lump sum of money, and that entitles them to have a weekly share of our produce that's harvested from our garden. So I'm going to have Paige talk about the CSA and her experience in the garden program.
So I am a huge fan of gardening. So I actually work at the Home Depot in their garden center, so I know everything from like gardening to flowers to plants, whatever you name it. And so I just started this summer, and I'm going to be a senior this year. And so what I've been doing is every Tuesday after my sports are done, I go out to the garden and I help harvest, and then I weigh stuff, and then I package stuff together for all the 16 members that are part of the CSA that have put down their money. And so they get like a little lump of like tomatoes, or they get to choose like a little bit of kohlrabi or a little bit of carrots. And then there are usually like herbs or other types of things that they can just, sort of pick and choose. And so every week, every Tuesday, I help with the harvesting and then also handing out as well. And it's been super fun, super enjoyable. And I really, really hope that it can be incorporated in different like classroom ideas this fall and also through the school year as well. That'd be super awesome. Thank you.
I think Melissa had a question.
I was going to ask, what are your favorite foods to grow and eat out of the garden? Yum.
I have a question then too. Do you like to weed? Oh, you do?
Come on over.
Come on over to our house, yeah.
Olivia is
Well,
one of
that's
our
great.
superstar gardeners. We have to like physically remove her from the garden. She never wants to leave. It's very, very awesome.
Nice.
How about you, Paige?
I would say some of my favorite vegetables would probably be bush beans, just like her. Otherwise, a really good tomato, like a cherry tomato, is always really good. Also, I like incorporating like herbs, like cilantro and basil in some of my cooking.
Well, again, what an awesome display of really thinking about education far beyond the classroom with Olivia and Paige. I can't even imagine as leaders what these gardens and projects are going to continue to be down the road. So thank you all so much for everything. Really amazing. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We'll get you one. And we'll get Olivia one more time. The girls are taking certificates for the high school garden team and for Kids Company, and we will also make sure that we get them their own certificate as well. Thank you all very much.
All right, thank you. Next on the agenda is the personnel items, and for this, I'll hand it over to Director of Human Resources, Mr. Matt Mons.
All right, thank you very much. Good evening, members of the board, and Dr. Stallo. To start us out, I recommend the following candidates for employment and am seeking board approval.
Do I have a motion for the acceptance of the candidates for employment?
So moved.
By Melissa,
Second.
by Lee. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? That passes 5-0.
And next, I present the following leaves of absence and am seeking board approval.
Do I have a motion for the leaves of absence? Moved. By Ben
Second.
and seconded by Stacy. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? That passes 5-0.
All right, and this evening, I am pleased to present a number of agreements and finalized terms and conditions of employment this evening. Specifically, I would like to say a thank you to our Child Nutrition Services bargaining team for a really positive round of bargaining. And then also to our principals group, especially those who participated in the bargaining process. Mr. Kuznetsov over here was, I believe, a first-time participant in the rough and tumble world of bargaining. I'd really like to say thank you for a really positive round of bargaining. We continue with all of our groups to look at ways to make the experience feel better and to have really positive communication throughout, and I think that we've been achieving that. So that's wonderful. And so with that, I present the following agreements.
Okay, do I have a motion for the acceptance of the 2018-20 agreement in terms and conditions of employment as listed?
So made.
By Stacy. Do I have a second?
Second.
By Lee. Are there any questions or comments?
Thank you. Yeah, I was going to say
Thank
that.
you.
Thanks to Matt for all that. It's a lot of groups.
And I have a question. The rates that we've seen here are consistent with
Correct, and fall
other
within the board
groups.
parameters.
Yes.
Yep, as we
All right.
discussed them. Yep.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? That passes 5-0.
And next up, we do have a staffing request on the educational support staff side, and that is for a MARS coordinator position. This kind of falls under the category of never waste a good crisis. And right as we're experiencing a terrific amount of student enrollment, our current MARS employee is leaving the district to pursue other opportunities. So congratulations to her, and we're really looking here at how do we want to be staffing this for the future. So one of the pieces that we know is that we'd be better served with the level of reporting that's being mandated by the state, and with continuing our transition to a centralized enrollment process in having a coordinator role there as opposed to the solely clerical role that we've had previously. And so we are looking at a $9,000 increase in the cost of that. of that position. So that's why you see that corresponding approximately $9,000 budget hold there. I would like to point out with this that we are going to continue to look at the staffing model that we're utilizing for our centralized enrollment process, and we believe that we've identified some ways to improve our processes and better utilize existing staffing in the district. I do believe that we will see an additional staffing request in the near future to finalize that staffing plan.
Okay, do I have a motion for the acceptance of the additional educational support staffing?
So made.
By Stacy, do I have a second?
Second.
By Ben. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That passes 5-0. There's no unfinished business on tonight's agenda, and for new business, we have facilities planning and construction presentation, and this is a requested board action, so Executive Director Ms. Sink.
Good evening, Board Chair Wolf, board members, and Dr. Stallo. Tonight we are on our screen is dark, so we will go this way. Now your screens are dark. There we go. So we're working tonight. Jeff Holmberg is not here tonight, so we're kind of filling in for him as he's able to take some time off. We're going to talk a little bit about the Bridges ALC design and floor plan, the high school edition, and asking for going out for bids for the foundations for our additions for different areas at the high school, and the MinCaps classroom expansion. So these are the areas that we'll be seeking board approval for. And I think we've seen this Bridges ALC design and floor plan, but if you haven't, here is the final, what we'll be going out for bid for. And you can see that, and we talked quite a bit about secure entrances. We've talked quite a bit about keeping the main area of the school separate from the classroom area so that we're able to do lockdowns and able to have community members come in if they want to have events in the evenings and have those spaces separate as well. We have many different types of classrooms for this school design, for maker spaces for those students to learn in different environments. And I think they've had a lot of involvement of the staff at the ALC and student involvement as well. So I think this came up with an excellent design for this building. We have a few renderings for this as well. This will be the front entrance, a rendering of the front entrance. And as we go through this, just know that the final colors haven't been picked yet, and so we're still working through that process, and these are just renderings of what could possibly be for colors, but this would be looking at it as if you're standing in front of the Twin Oaks Middle School. This would be the street view from, was it one? Fish Point Road. And then this would be from
County Road 44.
Thank you, County Road 44. This is an interior view, and again, the colors haven't been picked, but this would be the classroom spaces if you're looking from the double doors looking towards the classroom area. And then this would be the cafeteria area. This will be a nice area for all the students at the ALC to be able to join together to be in case they wanted to have a school meeting, all-school meeting. And it does have a warming kitchen, and so we'll still be bringing lunches over from another school, but they will be able to be served hot and cold lunches like all of the other schools will have. This was a rendering of a typical classroom area for this school. And this is the front entryway where you'll be greeted. Anyone coming into the building will be greeted. Any questions about the ALC?
Why don't, I mean, if I could interrupt, why don't I take a motion first to accept the ALC design and move forward to advertise for bids?
So moved.
By Ben, do I have a second?
Second.
By Lee. All right, are there any questions or comments? I know this design has come before the board, I think at 2 different study sessions, and in front of the Facilities and Long Range Planning Committee a couple times. So are there any questions or comments?
I'll just make a comment. I'm just, because we've had a lot of discussion already on the design. I'm just really excited that we're able to bring this forward to that community specifically. They've, managed and made do for the last, I think, 9 years. So for them to be able to have a space to call their own, I think is really important for that program. And so I'm excited to see it happen.
Are there any other questions, Melissa?
Yes, I too am very excited for them to have a nice space that is going to be focused on education. At 2 of the study sessions, we talked a little bit about the design of the restrooms. So if you could again just tell us, now that we're at the board meeting again, the reason behind not having 2 restrooms with multiple stalls to take advantage of that space versus the 3 that are shown there.
We actually have restrooms in 2 areas of this school. They are restrooms in case that we close the building at that middle point there. So there's toilets to the left there by the kitchen area, and then there are additional restrooms in the classroom space. This is a smaller building, and so we're able to provide these types of restrooms in this building for a smaller population.
Are there any other questions?
I just had a comment. Julie mentioned this, but I just want to echo again how happy I am, and really the inclusive process. We had a core ALC Bridges team that worked on this for months with the architects, and then we also, because it is in part a smaller staff, we also had a chance to bring all staff into the conversation and really had some robust conversations about flexible learning spaces and what staff believe would be the best learning environments for students. So we have an ALC staff that is very, very excited and very grateful to our community for this new school.
Are there any other questions or comments? I guess I will make one. I too echo the other board members, excited to see this plan come to fruition. Remember back when I was on the board and Mr. Lund came to the board and wanted to start an ALC, and to see that process grow to this is very exciting. So with no further questions or comments, all those in favor of the design and to move forward with the bid signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? That passes 5-0. Yes, you are up next.
Good evening, Chair Wolf, School Board, Dr. Stallo. Another approval we're seeking tonight is to, this fall, start foundation work on the south portion of the Prior Lake High School additions, Tech Ed and A Tower and B Tower. The advantage of that is that if we can get the foundations in ahead of cold weather, we won't have to rip frost and we won't have to put heating blankets down. It'll be a cost savings for the district.
All right. Do I have a motion for the acceptance of the foundations for the classroom pods and the Tech Ed area at Prior Lake High School?
So moved.
By Lee, do I have a second?
Second.
By Stacy, are there any questions or comments? Lee.
Just a comment, I think we talked about this at facilities or the work session, but just making sure when this project starts and when we kind of leave it set, if that's what happens with the weather, that it's well protected from students or anyone else getting hurt or getting in.
Correct. There'll be construction limit fences around all of this while we're working, and it will be protected from weather and students.
Which is harder.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions or comments? Ben?
I think you mentioned the savings that we'd see as a district, and I want to make sure that it's echoed, or at least kind of emphasize the fact that it's not just a couple $100 savings. It's a very significant savings by being able to combine this and not have to rip frost, not have to go through all the process of heating and tarping off the concrete. So kudos to you and your team to kind of think outside the box and get things pushed out in a different manner or different process, and being able to really be a better thinker as far as how to spend the money and how to really help the taxpayers figure out how to get the most bang for their buck when we go through the whole building process.
Thank you.
Seeing no other questions, so all those in favor of the foundation work at the pods and to move forward to advertise for bids signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? That passes 5-0.
And then our last item tonight is the MinCaps classroom expansion. This is the current area that we have in the upstairs of we have 2 floors, portions of 2 floors at the building that's located just over in Lakeville. This is the main floor, and then as you go downstairs, this is the other space in the hashes that we are currently leasing, and the portion in yellow is what we're asking the board to approve for leasing for the next 3 years, continuing this lease for 3 years, and then additional 3 for a total of 6. And then we have the option again for another 5. So we have some options of continuing this program. And we've seen quite a bit of interest in this program by our students here at Prior Lake High School, and some additional interest by Farmington School District, as well as we have some students that will continue their second year in the program from Lakeville. But we're asking to rent this additional, or lease this additional space. We're getting a 1-year kind of a bridge, what we're calling a bridge, for a really good price of $5 per square foot for 1 year. This is really going to help our student population, especially in the area of our health pathway that we have currently in the district. So, and then we'll continue this at the regular rate of our other spaces for the remaining 5 years of the lease.
Okay, I will state that this was reviewed during our study session along with review of the lease itself. So do I have a motion for the MinCaps classroom expansion and second lease amendment with the Minnesota School of Business?
So moved.
By Melissa, do I have a second?
Second.
By Ben. Are there any questions or comments?
Just
Lee.
clarification, this space already exists, and so our cost besides the lease is just making it workable for us. Is that
Right.
correct?
That's correct.
Are there any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is the long-term facility maintenance action, and presented tonight by Director of Operations and Transportation, Mr. Delwo.
Good evening. I have in front of you an updated 10-year plan for LTFM. It's an annual review and approval by the school board as required by the state. I also, in memorandum form, highlighted the changes to the plan. And they are District Service Center, we want to replace a rooftop unit that's failing and tie into our hot water system here. We moved around some concrete work and moved carpeting out a couple more years. We also have throughout 5 of our buildings automation, which runs our fans, our lights, our control system are becoming obsolete. We can't get parts for it, so we need to update that to 5 buildings. Again, Edgewood minor concrete move, and again add update automation. Five Hawks, we would like to add brick replacement as part of this year's project. We found as we're taking brick off the building that there's more brick that needs to come off, and it's an allowable long-term facility maintenance project, and we added some money there. Glendale, we added floor finishes and painting. Again, to next year to kind of clean up the building with the new construction and make sure everything looks good. Greenwood, we've added some unit ventilators to the scope of the mechanical project, partial sprinkler pipe replacement, and some masonry repairs. Hidden Oaks, we moved up the curtain wall and foundation work. We have another gym that's failing over at Hidden Oaks that showed up this year. We We have vapor problems over there, and the gym A and B is buckling. Another rooftop unit that's failing. Again, update building automation and some parking lot repairs. High school, move up some painting, moved up carpet replacement, add some asphalt replacement, moved up concrete repairs, and update building automation. And again, that's due to the heavy construction that's going to be at the high school. When we open up the new spaces, we would like to freshen up the rest of the building. There are no changes at Jeffers. Red Tail Ridge, we want to update building automation. Twin Oaks, we added some parking lot repair. When we get into construction for Twin Oaks, Hidden Oaks, and Bridges ALC, that parking lot will have to become a laydown area, and it's going to take a beating. So we're looking at that and adding some repair there. Moved up tennis court repair and added cost to it. It's a little more expensive than we thought. Again, building automation update, and Westwood, no changes. That's a summary of the changes from last year to this year.
Okay. And then in the packet, you see the proposed
10-year plan.
All right. Do I have a motion for the acceptance of the long-term facilities maintenance action plan as presented?
So made.
By Stacy. Do I have a second?
Second.
By Ben. Are there any questions or comments?
I'll
Lee.
just ask. Oh,
Go ahead.
Lee.
Well, I was just saying, Jim, as far as the changes, happening, and why they happen, I think just to maybe explain that, it depends on, something fails, obviously, within the year.
Correct.
There's changes with construction, there's
Correct.
efficiencies for us to pull some of this stuff forward.
Yeah, we're trying to look long-term and try to maximize the dollars in this. And again, our list is condition-based, it's not life cycle, so things change every single year. And the rooftop units are good examples of that.
Right, okay, all right.
Lee.
My question is somewhat similar. With these changes and having to move some things up, do other things get sacrificed? Is that what
There's no
happens or not?
sacrificing here, it's just changed timelines, and again, based on condition, we are comfortable with our plan.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments for Mr. Dello? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? That passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is the award of bakery products and milk and dairy contracts for 2018-19, presented by Director of Child Nutrition Services, Ms. Malone.
Good evening, Board and Dr. Stella. In regards to the milk and dairy, bakery, and bread bids for the school year 18-19, I have two recommendations for tonight. First, I recommend using the escalated prices for milk and dairy, awarding the bid to AgriPure, the lowest bidder. Let me just keep going.
How do we want to do this? Motion for both? I look
Yeah,
to
I
the
think,
board.
yeah.
Okay, continue on then.
Okay. And then for bakery and bed products, I recommend Bimbo, Earth Grain, Sara Lee, as they are the only lowest bidder.
Okay. Okay, do I have a motion for the awarding of the bakery products and milk and dairy contracts for 2018-19?
So moved.
By Lee, do I have a second?
Second.
By Stacy, are there any questions or comments?
No, go ahead. I know what you're gonna ask.
Ben?
Where, from a, the only thing that concerns me from what's on here is we only had one bidder for the bakery products, obviously. Where does those prices compare to what we're paying today?
So I did a little comparison. I have the last 2 years here, and typically we would increase about 5 cents per product, and this year it's actually a little bit higher. We went up 4 cents in one case, but then about 10 to 15 cents in some of the other.
Any insight on why the other three no bid?
So what I'm hearing is that school business is kind of a tough model for year-round bakeries. You know, we need products 9 months out of the year. We need them super early. We front load in September. We die off towards the end of the school year. You know, we've got all the kinds of breaks and extended times when we're not ordering during the school year. So it's tough for them to accommodate our schedule and our demand just for 9 months out of a year.
So I'm assuming
ahead,
other,
Stacy.
other districts are experiencing the same issue then with the bidding?
Yes, yeah, I spoke to Shakopee and Lakeville, the food service directors there, and they also only got a bid from Bimbo.
I was just going to comment that this has been the same for 17 years. We've never gotten a second bid. So it kind of makes me wonder why that even has to come to the board. I mean, does it require that they have to bring it?
Yeah,
Okay.
required.
Because it just
Yeah.
seems funny because we never get anything different. It's always the same.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay.
I think we have the option to use our prime vendor, but that bread comes in frozen, and it's once a week. So if we want a fresh
Yeah,
bakery
fishy.
product,
Yeah, you don't want that.
Okay.
All right, are there any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of the awarding of the bakery products and milk and dairy contracts for 2018-19 signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed?
I'm going to abstain.
Oh, okay, and one abstention, so that's,
Recuse.
so that's 4-0 with one abstention. All right, thank you very much.
you're welcome.
And next on the agenda, you are still up there for the awarding of the private food vendor contract for 2018-19 and 2019-20.
Correct. This is we're in a buying group, and it's called the St. Cloud Area Buying Group. This is a joint agreement that was approved in 2016, and then after 2 years, we have the option to renew the contract. So as a buying group, they've suggested that we renew the contract based on lowest bidder of Cisco Western. So I'm recommending that we stick with Cisco Western as our prime vendor.
Although, do I have a motion for the awarding of the prime food vendor contract for 2018-19 and 2019-20?
So moved.
By Melissa, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Stacy. Are there any questions or comments? Quick question, do you know the history behind how we got in? I don't recall. We're not.
Into the joint purchasing
Yes.
agreement?
Yeah.
In 2016, the previous director chose to be part of the buying group because we were being charged $1.05 per case. You know, basically a manufacturer sells the products to a distributor, and then the distributor tax on their fee. It's a fixed fee. And so we were being charged at the time $1.05 per case that we were ordering from our current vendor. In the buying group here, this year I think we're at 65 cents, which has been the same for the last 2 years. Yeah, 65 cents per carton. So when you join the joint power agreement, you know, you have more volume, so better prices.
Thank you. It's another example of partnership.
Exactly.
District. Are there any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That passes 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Next on the agenda is the second and final reading of policies presented tonight by Director of Human Resources, Mr. Mons, and Executive Director, Business Services, Ms. Sink.
All right, and would the board like to take these together as a group or individually?
I will look to the board. Together?
I'm good with group.
I see you shaking hands,
And
yes.
just
so-
to state that the board has reviewed these policies previously. In addition, there are not terrifically significant changes to any of the policies here listed.
Okay, do I have a motion for the acceptance of the policies as listed under 12A?
So moved.
By Lee, do I have a second?
Second.
By Ben, are there any questions or comments? I again will reiterate that these policies were gone over one by one at the study session and with the minor changes as listed. And Martha wanted me to inform you that all those changes that we suggested during study session have been incorporated into these policies. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying, did I do a motion first?
Yeah.
I did. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That passes 5-0. Next are the mandatory and annual policies.
And so I think the only note here is just to note that there are a couple of these that have been identified that we will be going over at the August board meeting. But otherwise, this is our grouping of policies that are reviewed annually and are being brought forward to the board for approval.
Okay, and then, okay, do I have a motion for the acceptance of the mandatory and annual policies?
So made.
By Stacy, and do I have a second?
Second.
By Lee. Are there any questions or comments? Again, I will reiterate that these policies were reviewed by each of the board members in their packet on our previous board study session. So, any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? That passes 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is administrative reports. Superintendent Dr. Stallo.
Thank you very much. At Prior Lake Savage Area Schools, our mission is to educate all learners to reach their full potential as contributing and productive members of our ever-changing global community, and our collective work is focused on achieving this mission. Tonight, I'd like to share a few things in which we've been engaged. First of all, this morning, or earlier today, I had the opportunity to join the City of Savage Mayor Janet Williams and the City of Prior Lake Mayor Kurt Briggs at the Regional Council of Mayors meeting in Minneapolis. Mayors from across the metro meet regularly, and today they invited area superintendents as well to join them to discuss education and collaboration between school districts and cities. We know education is a top priority in Minnesota, and we know that people, when they're deciding where to live, one of the things they definitely look for is quality education. So we had a great discussion about the changing global economy and the changing needs of education and ways that we can continue to collaborate. So I'm very grateful to Mayor Williams and Mayor Briggs, both for the invitation to attend the meeting today and for our continued partnerships that we have with our cities. I also want to provide an update to the board and the community on our plans moving forward on utilizing a visitor management system called Raptor for increased school security in our buildings. The equipment is actually being shipped, and we hope to have one of the systems up and ready to pilot later this month. Actually, we'll invite board members to experience how the system works as well, either at our July study session or in time for our August 13th board meeting. A kickoff meeting with Raptor is scheduled for next week, and we'll determine then a training and communication schedule. In addition, a team will be updating policy to include this new visitor management system, and we hope to have an update ready for the first read on July 23rd. As we were reviewing some of our policies, there's just some of the wording that we'll want to change a little bit to make sure that the policy is up to date. So hopefully then we'll be able to have the detailed presentation regarding Raptor at our August 13th board meeting for the board and the viewing public. We're also moving forward with implementing the lockdown best practices and making some changes to our current protocols as we've discussed at the last couple of study sessions. While we know traditional lockdowns are still an effective and safe choice in the crisis, we will implement an improved and more proactive lockdown protocol that provides additional options. A team of administrators are going to be attending training on lockdown with options next week, and we'll begin working on a training and communication timeline for that as well, which I believe we'll be able to give a brief report hopefully on July 23rd, but a more detailed report at the board meeting on August 13th. Lastly, I just want to remind the board and the community that Lakefront Music Fest is this weekend. Rock Night is Friday and Country Night is Saturday. There's still time to purchase single night tickets online until Friday night at lakefrontmusicfest.com. They're $40 per night. Online ticket sales have closed for our PTCs and booster clubs. And again, this is a great event that the Prior Lake Rotary Club sponsors, and it greatly benefits our schools, our students, and our programs. So hopefully that will work for some of you to attend. Thank you.
Next on the agenda is administrative reports. Are there administrative reports?
I do have one. Just I want to quickly update the board on our enrollment for the prior year. Now that we're into July, it's 17-18 is our prior year. We had originally budgeted 8,554 students in the district for last year, And our enrollment, we actually came in about 12 students short of our budgeted number. We had lost some students throughout the year. I think that's still a pretty good number. We're about 85-42 for the final number for this year. And that number may change a little bit between now and August, but when those final reports are due, but it'll be pretty close to that number. And I also wanted to let you know that we continue to enroll students into our district for the 18-19 year. Our kindergarten actually is trending very high for this year. We're almost at 600 students right now for our kindergarten numbers, and I think last year we were about 550 at this time. So our kindergarten actually is trending higher, and we'll see if we'll gain another 50 students in kindergarten or not between now and the start of the school year. All the other grade levels are on par to be where we expect them to be at this point in the year.
All right, thank you. Are there any board reports this evening? Seeing none. Next, future events, as Dr. Stallo mentioned, Lakefront Music Fest is this Friday and Saturday. I will be there both nights. Excited for Hunter Hayes. And we have a board study session July 23rd. And then there is no closed session tonight. So with that, I will take a motion for adjournment of the meeting.
So moved.
By Lee, and do a second by Melissa. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? That passes 5-0. This meeting is hereby closed.